you are about to listen to is me, Pastor Michael Bowman, as I think out loud about and try to apply the scripture to anything and everything that comes to mind. This usually happens in my car, so jump in and let's talk.
I was just finishing up reading the book Technopoly by Neil Postman last night, and I've been reading a lot of Neil Postman lately for a kind of reading group that I'm a part of, and so I've been thinking a lot about some of his ideas. And if you haven't read Neil Postman, I highly recommend it. Now, I don't follow him all the way on some of his ideas, but I think he is absolutely brilliant, and he was a prophet as far as the technological age goes, as far as the ways in which the technological age and the rise of certain kinds of technology, especially, television was kind of his big thing, but also the way that his thought applies to social media now and, the internet world. He really was a prophet and saw what was coming before it actually took place. And so I highly recommend reading some of his work if you want to better understand the days that we live in. He was writing the books I've read by him were all written in the 80s or 90s. And yet, here we are, 2021, and almost everything that he said, predicted, thought about seems to have come true. And those things that he saw already back then are now things that people are questioning, thinking about, worried about, and he could have told you about them 40 years ago. And so, anyway, great stuff, great work. But I just read his book, Technopoly. Finished that up last night when I'm recording this. And he had this really interesting idea that I wanted to think about, where he talked about how whenever there is a shakeup or breakdown in cultural institutions, it inevitably leads to a kind of information glut and a kind of information chaos in most people's lives, because they have no way to categorize all of the information that's coming at them, especially when we have things like the computer and the internet now, where every day you're bombarded with all kinds of new material and headlines and ideas and information, but there's no coherent, helpful way to categorize and think about that information. When you had solid religious traditions, when you had stronger kind of political, patriotic, connections, when you have these, various institutions that you can rely upon, maybe a stronger, kind of unity when it comes to education, whatever it might be, when you've had these strong cultural institutions, what they are able to do is they're able to take all of the information and put it in an organized, helpful worldview in such a way that you can actually use it, you can move forward with it. It's not overwhelming. It doesn't lead to chaos in your mind or thinking. It actually just is helpful, beneficial, because it's able to do that. His example was, and I should maybe always give this caveat, what I just said is ideas from Neil Postman mixed with ideas in my own mind, and so you won't find those exact words in what he wrote. But if you think about it like this is the analogy that Postman gives, is like a cell. And, he talks about the idea of cancer and information glut being like a kind of cancer, where the normal boundaries of the cell have been broken down. The normal life of the cell is not possible because it just keeps growing and it keeps expanding. And those, kind of cultural institutions that help to maintain an order within the information that you have, when those are broken down, it leads to chaos. And what I would add to this is not that like chaos is going to continue, because I don't think that, I do think that there's some ways in which, this information glut does lead to chaos in somebody's mind. You think about the rise of, massive amounts of anxiety and, the rise of various kinds of depression in people. I think this is actually directly attributed to, in many ways, the inability for most people to, I shouldn't say the inability for most people, because I don't think that this is like a personal problem thing. I think when somebody is disconnected from a universal worldview and some kind of, a cultural institution that helps provide the thought boundaries for them, and there's no way to categorize all the information that's coming their way and how to think about it and how to receive it or not receive it, without something like that, I think it's inevitable that you will fall into some kind of despair, anxiety. You'll just be overburdened by everything that's coming at you. And I think that what happens, though, is not that continues long term across a culture. I think that cultural institutions have to form. I think we live in a world that's been given order by God, and He's created mankind to give the world order, to go out, to have dominion over creation, and to give it structure, to take what is wilderness and actually to build within it homes and civilization. This is what God has put in the hearts of man to do. Now we are fallen, and we have rejected that, rebelled against it, but you still can't get away from the image of God that you're made in. And so what's going to happen, and what is happening, is not that information chaos is the end, but once some cultural institutions break down, what's going to happen is new ones are going to take their place. There's going to be new institutions that are going to be the ones that decide what truth you receive and what you don't, what you should listen to and what you shouldn't. There are going to be new institutions that begin to fact check and tell you this is what you can believe, this is what you can't believe. They're going to institute the new dogma, and they're going to be the ones in control of the worldview by which you're supposed to categorize and think about the truth. Now, of course, even as I say that, probably you're listening and you're thinking, yeah, well, this is what you see happening all over the place. Social media sites are becoming their own kinds of cultural institutions where they're kind of making up their own ideas about, okay, well, this is how we're going to judge what is true and false. This is how we're going to, create these boundaries. Anybody who had a problem with, the institutional power of Christianity being something that helped people to discuss what is true, what is false, what should be received, what shouldn't, what is out of bounds as far as what we should be considering as a populace, all of those things, even just basic morality, that's inevitable. The question is just who's going to be doing those things, who's going to be in charge of those things. And so anyway, I'll probably stop there. I've just been thinking about that now, how these cultural institutions are reasserting themselves. The question is just going to be, are these the institutions that we want in control of these things? Are the institutions that are reasserting themselves, are the political allegiances that are asserting themselves, the various worldviews that are asserting themselves in American life today, are those really the ones that we want in control of the narrative by which we are to look at all of the information that comes our way? And I would say absolutely not. I want a biblical worldview to be that which is used to catalog and categorize and understand the information from the world around us. That's necessary. A cultural institution is necessary. That's the one that I want it to be. I want it to be the church. I want it to be a biblical worldview that takes precedence.
Hey guys, I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has been, go ahead and rate it, review it, or share it with a friend, especially if you're in La Crosse, Wisconsin, or the surrounding areas. That helps me expand the audience and hopefully increase the impact of these ideas. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns on anything that I just talked about, you can reach me at pastormichaeljbowman@gmail.com. You can find more content from me, as well as information about the church that I pastor at ccc-pca.org. With that, I hope you can enjoy the many blessings of God today. Until next time.